Good job. How y'all doing? All right. Y'all wasn't waiting too long. Y'all got to talk and have some fun. Now it's time. I just want to take a moment to recognize my sister Brenda Palmer's outfit before I introduce her.
That is like crazy.
The pleated everything is crazy. That is fire. Like I appreciate fashion, and you really did that. So round of applause to my sister.
You know, it's on brand. I talk about Nike in the book, so how to wear Nike today.
That's fire. That's
Appreciate
fire.
it. Thank you.
So first of all, I'm super grateful that you invited me to be a part of this conversation. I think you're amazing at what you do. You're a powerful speaker. I'm so grateful that I had you on the podcast, and we're going to be dropping that tomorrow prayerfully. Y'all need to tap in. Amazing conversation, and I know today will be amazing as well. Let's celebrate and just highlight this book for a moment, A Journey of Yes. Is it Journey to Yes? Or
no,
of
yes,
right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Where does that come from?
Ooh, great question. I feel like I've always thought if I had to give my life a title, it would be called The Journey of Yes. I feel like I have just arrived or lived out places, lived into things because I've said yes. Even the book, like I keep saying over and over again, it's a dream I wasn't brave enough to dream, but it is fruit of my yes. And so I would say the journey of yes has just been this journey I decided to take with the Lord to just say my life is better in His hands.
Look, okay, there's a theme in the book that comes up a lot about obedience and how obedience is disruptive, right? We don't usually attach the word disruptive to obedience. And oftentimes we believe in the faith we do need to be obedient, but we don't expect our obedience to be disruptive. Mm-hmm. So could you share on what that means?
For sure. I think that most of the time we think obedience is a means to an end. Like there's something I want from God, so I'm going to do this thing. So I move God's hand or I get whatever I want out of Him. And I would say that obedience is the complete opposite of that. It is disruptive to whatever was comfortable, whatever you were in. I feel like it's God's way of inviting you to do relationship with Him. Typically, obedience it's just disruptive. It's like, I feel like it's the moment you like, okay, I got it. I'm in my bag. Like, I'm following God, and He's like, hey, I need that. Or come do this, or go there. Or you want to go, and He's like, no, actually stay there. Oof. And stick it out and endure it. It's disruptive in its nature. It is Abraham doing whatever he was doing before he's introduced in Scripture, and God saying, all right, let's go. Where are we going? To a place I'll show you when you get there? That's disruptive. And I think that I wanted to be honest about obedience. I think in church we can present all of these ideas, but we don't tell people the truth. It's like bait and switch. So we are telling people if you follow God, you're gonna get whatever you want. No, actually you probably lose everything you want. And so I feel like I wanted to use the word disruptive. I fought really hard with the publisher about using the word radical. Because they're like, no, you can't. Which is why the back of the book, I mean, it's cool, but that ain't really what the book is about. They just needed to put key words around it because they thought it would make people feel better, but it's radical. Yeah. Obedience is radical. It is waiting in the Starbucks line. You got places to go, and God says, actually pay for the car behind you. And you like, oh, but I gotta, no. That's radical because that ain't really what you want to do. My God. It's the opposite of that. So I feel like I wanted to use language in terms based off my experience of what obedience has been, and it's been disruptive.
And I think, with the idea of God calling us to obedience, especially in this season, God is calling many of us to obedience, but we don't realize that how much obedience means confronting idols. And we talked about Abraham on the podcast. I'm gonna leave that alone because that went crazy. But I just think about the ways that God has called you to obedience in your life and even in my life, and how that meant I had to face the potential idols in my life, even idols that had their arm around my shoulder, which were creeping around my neck. Oof. And I didn't realize, man, God was calling me into obedience, like you said, into relationship with Him, which is out of relationship with my idols. So there is this kind of tension in true obedience and radical obedience, because it really means reckless abandonment of everything that I held dear. Oftentimes, and we talked about this on the podcast, I want to talk to you about that, things and places, ideas, roles, and titles that to some extent were God-given, God ordained, God sent me there, God connected me here, God put me in that church, God connected me with this person, God blessed me here, God elevated me here, God promoted me here, I got success here, I got skills here, and God, you're telling me to abandon Isaac? You're telling me to kill what you promised? How is that obedience?
Because God knows best. And I think what we fail to realize is a call to obedience is really God wanting your heart. It's not that he's after like taking things from you or ruining your life. He recognizes that first of all, we can only see things for the moment we're in them. From the perspective, that's our viewpoint is what we're in now, what we've already experienced. And God is recognizing like, you're actually getting a little too attached to this place I sent you. So let's see if you really in this for me or the thing. So let me separate the two and see what happens. Lord. Abraham taking Isaac up that mountain is not because God is trying to go back on his word. He's like, oh, I did give you this, but let's see if you want this thing more than me. And so I think that we can be led to a place and we can find God there. We can meet God there. We can experience God there. Yes. And he's like, so are you more in love with me or are you more in love with the experience? Are you more in love with me or with the title or the position or the people?
Ooh.
And sometimes, majority of the time, a call to obedience is to separate you from things that will take his place in your heart.
That was beautiful. If you guys can, go ahead and start, if you have a question or you don't have a question, begin to start thinking of your question, because we're going to provide you an opportunity to potentially ask your questions. We can't take all of them, but if you have a well thought out question, it'd be good that you just start ruminating in your heart with that question. So there's a theme that you examine in your book is like dealing with performance versus presence. Got to talk about that, because as ministers, how many of you in here like have some form of leadership? You make content, you do something where you're imparting to people. Raise your hand if you're imparting to people in some way. Okay, so this is also for you. But even if you're not imparting to people in large scale ways, in some way, your life is a platform. So I want to talk about what it means to lean into presence versus performance.
Ooh, for me, a lot of times it looks like walking away. And what I mean is like, I think when you do things that you feel like God called you to, there's like a comfortability in that, right? You find a rhythm. You like, okay, I got to do a podcast. I got to go preach here. I got to go do the things. And then before you know it, you've now gotten spent in a routine that for the most part don't even include God no more.
Whoa.
Cause you found a rhythm. You like, okay, God's gonna bless this. You got your one sermon, you got your one word, you got your, you know what I'm saying? Like, and before you know it, God is not, he like, hey, remember this used to be about me? Remember we used to do this together. Remember you used to feel like you couldn't even show up here because you didn't feel like you were good enough and you used to rely on me. Ooh. But then it got good for you. Then I started moving and you somehow mistake that from you started moving. So now you don't even move with me. You just moving, and when you think you need me, then you call me. And so I think like that happens a lot in the just culture of what we do. And I feel like I didn't even realize that I had lost sight of my why until I was ready to walk away from it because I was hurt or offended. Let's just call it what it was. And so I think in my offense, then God reveals like, hey, you have stopped doing this for me for a long time ago. And so I think like being able to hold that, I think our biggest issue in our culture is that we don't like to be honest. We like to pretend like, no, I love the Lord. Follow the Lord. He's good. We tight. And he like, bro, you ain't talked to me in 6 weeks. And if I really showed, like, cause that's what I'm saying, right? If you got good language, you know the Lord, you know the word, you can be apart from him for a very long time and not recognize it.
Scary. Why? Because of applause.
Because of applause.
Like the pursuit of presence that gets you, I mean, I guess to get presence, all you need is closeness.
Yep.
But when it comes to performance, like to get applause, all you need is performance. And so my thing is, it makes me think of like the prodigal son. No, the prodigal son's brother.
Mm-hmm.
He started tripping because he was
like,
like,
"I've been here."
yo, I've been here, but I'm hearing all the people, all the celebration, all the applause for my brother.
For sure.
And the father said, no, proximity, my presence gave you sonship. You're yearning for, you're longing for, you're pursuing the party. And that never made you my son.
No.
My presence does. And I think we talked about this a lot. Like, if you've never performed, it's really difficult to stay motivated performing when people are not clapping.
Yep.
It's like it zaps everything out of you. And I think sometimes we say that we're obedient as long as they're clapping.
Yep.
It's easy to be obedient if I'm getting likes, if my followers are growing, if my friends are still here and they agree with me.
For sure.
If nobody's challenging me, if I know that if I say this, everybody's going to be on my side.
Yeah.
But how motivating is it to trust God, stand with him, speak on behalf of him, and be obedient when nobody's clapping?
Yeah. I think we have to ask ourselves, well, was I really being obedient?
Come on.
Or was I just pursuing a platform? I think that's going to be the determining factor. Typically,
Come on.
9 times out of 10, obedience is going to separate you.
Dang.
It's gonna draw the line in the sand.
That hurts.
It's gonna be the thing that's gonna make people go, what? What you saying? What you talking about? Nah, I'm good on you. And I think for me, it felt cool to be obedient because everybody was like, oh, like, it's, sharing the videos and the things, you know what I'm saying? Like, which I actually don't really care about that. It was the fact that I started being obedient and people I love,
There you go.
like close to me, people who got my phone number, were like being weird. It's like I could feel the distance.
There you go.
It was like they used to comment on my posts, now they just replying in my DMs.
Ooh.
Oh, so you don't want people to know you. First of all, I'm from Chicago. I don't fool like that. If you don't fool with me, don't fool with me.
Yeah.
Don't fool with me in my DMs and then act like you don't,
There you
like you
go.
didn't see me comment on your post.
Right.
Like I don't, I don't roll like that.
Yeah.
And so when I recognized that like people I love were doing that, it was kind of like, oh, I don't know how to navigate that. Like I was not prepared for that at all. And I think that journey taught me is like obedience doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need agreement. It doesn't need consensus from everybody else. And we keep talking about Abraham. We literally ran that dry on the podcast.
We sure did.
But what stands out to me is like Abraham takes people with him, but when it's time to make that actual move, he leaves them at the bottom of the mountain. Jeez. And he doesn't even tell them like what he's going to do. He speaks from faith and says, hey, we just going up the mountain to worship and we'll be back. No, you won't. You're going to kill this boy. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like that gives a blueprint on how I got to hold things, right? I have an instruction from God. It can't be shared with everybody.
Dang.
I can't just be frivolous with it because somebody's going to talk me out of it because of their fear.
My God.
And that's what it is. It's like I learned that it's like the people I love weren't just hating. You know, I'm like, it's not that they were hating. It's just that their fear was driving what they thought I should do. So then it's like, oh, you don't want to lose the people. I never was in this for people. I don't even know these people. Wow. Like, what are you saying? Like, you can't just be saying stuff. Well, if the Lord told me to say it, I'm going to say it.
Oh,
and
my
then
gosh.
you figure out what you want to do with that. Like, it's just, but it makes you have to stand in the face of the Lord and go, okay, most of the time we will say we hear from God, but we won't really step into it until somebody affirms that we heard from God. So I'm gonna go, hey, Ezekiel, I feel like I heard the Lord say, start this business. I don't really got the money. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know where to start. I don't even have a business degree, right? And whether Ezekiel agrees with it determines if I heard from the Lord. And it's like, that's not what? Because I think there are sometimes the Lord will turn my friend's heart against the thing he told me to do.
Dang.
So that I won't rely on their word over his.
Come on, y'all.
And he's like, either you heard me or you didn't. You believe me or you don't. And I've had moments, I talk about this in the book, where he would not, I was, I felt like the Lord said, leave this church. But I was, you know what I'm saying? Like I was making steps, but I still had one in my back pocket just in case I didn't hear him right.
Come on.
And I'm like, okay, Lord. And I'm just talking to like, I'm gonna leave. I gave my 3-week notice. I was still holding on to my apartment. I had a new apartment. I hadn't signed the lease, but I hadn't told him I wasn't coming. And I was like, I'm not clear. And I kept trying to talk. Stephanie is like a person that the Lord will use to like affirm something. Ooh. But he shut her, she would not, every time I talk to her, I was like, so what do you think the Lord is saying? She's like, so how's that, she would just change the subject. I'm like, bro, you sending me with this. And I would get so irritated every time we talk on the phone. So what do you think, like Chicago, where do you think he's saying? She's like, man, the sun was really out today. And it would be consistent for weeks. And I remember talking to another friend and I was like, I think the Lord just wants me to decide in my heart. And she's like, no, the Lord wants you to decide in action. You've already decided in your heart, but you haven't made a move. And I was like, first of all, nobody asked you that.
Right. Right, chill.
And I sent an email to that apartment and I said, man, I really, really love this place, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to take it. I sent that email at like 3:57. At 4 o'clock, Stephanie calls me. So what do you feel like the Lord is saying to you in this season? I said, you gotta be kidding me. And so it was almost like God was like, either you trust me or you don't. Because you don't get to say, I'm being obedient, but you got all these other like things to fall on. It's like, either you gonna be in this or you not. And it was like the moment because she wouldn't even engage the conversation. So I got rid of that apartment. And then the next thing she was like, so what do you feel like he's saying? What do you feel like he's telling you to do? She's like, no, that bears witness on my spirit. Like, I think you should do it. But it wasn't until I believed what God told me. He's not gonna let them be the solid. She's confirming what God already said. But I needed to move on what God said before he sent confirmation.
Did y'all get that?
I was like,
and that was so legit what you said about their fear. And I feel like fear is such a contagious thing.
Yeah.
Such a contagious spirit, because you said it's their fear that influences you. And now you have a fear of man because your fear of man is now compromising your fear of God. And I realized, like, if you looked at it like two cups, and one cup is full of fear of man, then your fear of God is going to be empty. But what if you poured a little bit of fear of God? Your fear of God towards the measure of fear of man is determined based on how much fear of man you got is determined on how much fear of God you got. Meaning, less fear of God, more fear of man. More fear of man, less fear of God, and the other way around. So I'm like, if you say that you fear God, then by default, organically, my fear of man is going to deplete. That's why scripture tells us that, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but many of us don't realize how to identify when we're operating in fear. But it says he gives us a spirit of power, love, and sound mind. Well, anywhere that your capacity to love is limited, fear exists. Anywhere your capacity of power and moving in a power of God is limited, then the fear has taken residence. Anywhere your self-control, sound mind has been limited, that's where fear has taken residence. And so we're able to kind of diagnose this stuff in our lives. And I'm just like, God, please. I want to revere you.
Yeah.
To the extent that my fear, man, sometimes we have a natural just fear, but I want to put more investment in my fear of God, so I'm able to stand boldly when you call me to do something. I'm going to allow you guys to ask questions after this question I have for her, because I want to know a little bit about this. You talked a bit about discovering your identity before you reach your platform. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then I'll allow some questions to start coming?
Yeah, I think, I think that is key, because if you get access to a platform before you know who you are, you will allow the platform to define you.
There you go.
And when it comes time to surrender it,
come on,
you're not gonna know what to do, because you're like, well, this is me. This, what do you mean? How do I separate from who I am? And that's not at all. And I think the Lord dealt with me with that a lot by like causing me to walk away from my dreams.
Come on.
And then I ended up in this stuff that we're doing right now. I don't want none of this.
For real.
And if he told me to walk away today, I'll probably be like, oh, child, thank you. My God, today. But I think that's important. I think even going back to like fear of man versus fear of God, it's like as a content creator, literally what we do is like release things that are at the mercy of someone liking, sharing, or commenting.
Wow.
That's like, we release things and then it's how successful it is measured based off who likes it, who shares it, who comments. So it's like, if I do not know who I am apart from that, then everything, for me, success is not in that. Success is in the release of what God said do. Success happens if, I don't care if nobody ever bought this book. I was already a success when I turned it in, it was already a success. So that's why, like, the other day, somebody was like, well, how is it selling? Y'all, I don't know. Haven't checked, haven't asked. Not that they reached out and told me, so I was like, well, maybe it's not selling well because they haven't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay. Like, if it makes a bestseller list, cool. It was a success when I did it because I only wrote a book to please the Lord. I never wanted to write a book. So I don't have like a, you know what I'm saying? Like, sure, it would be cool, but okay, you know what I'm saying? And you have to do that. But that comes from allowing the Lord to define who I was and not what I do. It's like, I think that is one of the greatest things. I carry a burden for creatives because so much of our identity is found in what we create, what we release into the world. Well, when you lose that opportunity to do that, now you like, well, I have no reason to live because what I'm doing, I can no longer do it. It's a part of who I am. And so I would say, like, over the course of my journey, God has like consistently asked me to walk away from things where I didn't recognize my identity was in it until I walked away from it.
Dang.
And so I'm like, oh, I'm moving to LA. I want to be a producer and work in entertainment. At the height of my career, I had just, which, I mean, it happened pretty quick. You don't move to LA and in 2 years you just be doing stuff, but the Lord just opened doors. I produced a show on Tidal. It went well. I'm like, cool, show? That sounds great. Start a production company. Crazy, dumbest idea in LA. Because you got to pay them money whether you make it or not. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, cool. And I started getting all these contracts. And then I feel my life being disrupted. I am fiercely loyal. So the Lord has to make me uncomfortable before, because if not, I'll be like, no, like, no, I can stay. I can, you know what I'm saying? He's like, no, you cannot. Get out of here. So it became like, the grace lifted. So what I was able to handle and navigate, I no longer had grace to do that. So that's a sign for me, like, okay, God's about to move me. So I started feeling that, which was my fault. He told me not to take this job. I took a job full-time at a church. He said 6 months. I was like, no, not 6 months. I got an apartment. I'm like, no, I'm here. I'm here. This is family. This is where the Lord sent me. He's not gonna move me in 6 months. In month 5, the grace started lifting.
My God.
And I started going, he's really about to move me.
Wow.
I just 6 months into this lease. What is happening?
Wow.
I thought I was moving to Nashville. I go to Nashville. He says, who said that? Where did you get Nashville from? I'm like, I really love Nashville. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought this was in alignment. He's like, this makes no sense. Yeah. And randomly, I had got off a prayer call. I was on a fast and me and Steph were believing like by April 1st, God's going to make it clear. March 30th, I got a message on LinkedIn. I never check LinkedIn messages. So that was just, and it's a random pastor. He's like, I know this is like chance. Like, you're not going to respond to this. He's like, I am expanding my senior leadership team, wanting to know if you or anybody you know is looking for their next. I said, well, first of all, I said Marietta. And I was like, I'm not going to Georgia. Because this is the only Marietta I knew. There's one in California. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. I went to check out this church, predominantly white. And God's like, this is where I'm sending you. Huh? And he was very clear. Leave LA in LA. Ooh. So that means producer Brenda dies. She just out the door. I had just got the production company. A real way. It was the same LLC. Yeah. He said, leave it there. I had to tell the same room, sorry, y'all, can't do anything. And then I'm whole time thinking the church is my assignment. I'm gonna go help this little church out. I had a dream. I was like, the Lord's going to use me to bring exposure to this church. What? The whole time the Lord was exposing me to me.
Damn.
He said, I saw a sermon once. It said, sometimes God has to take you away from what you do so he can show you who you are. Because I in LA, I could not see myself beyond being a producer. So he had to move me into an environment that called out of me Pastor Brenda, Preacher Brenda. Like that version of me was non-existent in LA.
Wow.
But then he put me in an environment where they just called it out. I just became another person. And so it's like sometimes we're like, God, I don't want to go. But you keep asking God for more.
Wow.
You don't have capacity to handle the more you asking for. So he's trying to move you so he could grow you. So then you can sustain what he walks you into.
Come on now. You're on fire. I almost don't want to break your stride. So we're just going a couple questions and we'll get back to it. Do we have any questions about what we've talked about so far? All right, go ahead.
Good night.
Yeah.
Let me ask my question. Okay, so my question is because you were talking about something that really hit me, and it was about how sometimes when we are in the assignment, we can get so used to doing it that we leave God out of it. So I wanted to know, what is your advice for how we can keep the main thing, which is our relationship with God?
No, that's a really good question. Did anybody read the book already? Y'all know the podcast I did? That's Pavielle. It was her podcast that made me denounce. Yeah. Just so y'all know, it was Pavielle's podcast.
Got it.
But I think that's a really good question. I think for me, when I pay attention to markers that I've gotten outside of God or too far away from him. And part of that is like when I'm completely depleted. So I think one of the ways I have learned to keep the main thing is like creating margins of rest. Mm-hmm. Like, cause I think that and making that like a part of my thing, not just child, I've reached my end, I gotta rest. Like, no, making moments of rest and stepping away. Cause I think if you keep in it, you never realize you've been doing it without God. Mm. So I think making sure that like, I am taking like intentional moments like away. And sometimes that's hard because then you'd be like, dang, the algorithm is gonna mess up. I'm gonna be gone for, you know what I'm saying? It's dumb things, but that stuff makes a difference, right? You start, all the things you start considering on why you shouldn't walk away. Like if you lead a group of people, you're like, well, God, what they gonna do without me is if you love the people more than he do. Like that's crazy too. But there are all these excuses. And so I think like really paying attention to like markers of like needing to steal away and making that a part of my rhythms. The other thing is I think we keep the main thing by always consulting the Lord in everything. So now like I don't make any decisions without, hey God, does this align with what you're saying for this season? Because it could have aligned for last season, but it might not be for this season. So I think that is like a huge thing. And like something else I do, why I take breaks, is because I want to maintain my relationship with the Lord for just the Lord. And sometimes if you're always pouring, it's hard to decipher. So sometimes I'm like, okay, no, I need a month down because I just want to be with Jesus for me and Jesus. I don't want to tell nobody nothing. I don't want to share anything. I don't want to podcast about it. I just want to talk to the Lord for the sake of talking to the Lord. And I think like being intentional about that, because when you are somebody who pours, it's really hard to decipher like, oh, God ain't been in this. Like, that's why when I was doing my whole quitting thing and he brought me back, Revelation 2 talks about you doing all the things. You can call out the false prophets. They considered the best church. If we put them in the list, they would be like, that's the best church. And Jesus is like, but you forsaking your first love. Because he is not the root of this. Now we're doing things to maintain our status on what people see. But Jesus is like, hey, could I be involved in this? If you're going to do it in my name, could I be included? You know what I'm saying? A little bit. So I think like it is that, but because of that's what I'm saying, like influence and all of that stuff, the enemy, he's an ancient spirit. He knows what's in your heart. So you also want to be aware, like I'm often every day, like, Lord, search my heart. And if there's something that offends you, show me, because if not, the enemy will extort it, but he'll wait until you have an influx of people following you because he really after knocking it all down.
I want to add to that because just as she was speaking and we're talking about breaking, as ministers, those of you who impart and you have people that look up to you, I think sometimes the temptation is when you carry the weight of being the one that pours, being the one that people are looking to, being the one that's counseling those broken relationships, then sometimes, I mean, anybody could relate to this. Sometimes you want to let your hair down and just say, okay, all right, now I need to get away. And the temptation is, like sometimes I felt like this, and I've said this before, like sometimes I want to put Ezekiel down because Ezekiel is the expectation of Ezekiel is so heavy on all levels. I've always been the one from teenage years, the one that people were expecting to always be. And sometimes I'm like, God, I can't wear Ezekiel. I just want to I want to be a ninja somewhere. Like,
no, that's real life.
and that's real. And one of my friends told me, he was like, you got to get to a place where your peace and your joy is breaking in God. Just like she said. He said, how is it that you say you love God, but your idea of rest is away from Him? Your idea of breaking is apart from Him. It's just like, what type of relationship now? Like when I think about Jamaica, when I think about a beach, and when I think about relaxation, I think about being with my wife. You know what I'm saying? And so if I say I love this God, how is it that I'm imagining decompression without the one who decompresses, right? And so that's really key. Like she said, learning how to, the rhythm is going back to making Him your source. And I realize that sometimes we talk about pouring so much, we think that we are pouring from some type of well we have deep inside because we are gifted or because we are deep. And the truth of the matter is God has called us a vessel because He's using you in spite of you. Your surrender to God looks like you getting out of the way. When you look at a vessel, right? Let's talk about a vessel. Vessel is nothing except if it's something that can be poured into and something that pours out. But what makes a cup of water contaminated, pure water contaminated, is contaminated when anything gets in it. Even if it's a sanitized button that gets into that cup of water, that water becomes contaminated or impure once the button gets inside. So what does that mean? It means that I don't want the type of pour that's contaminated by me. I don't want the type of pour that's contaminated by my charm, by my intellect, by whatever I can offer. Like what God wants is what you want to do, I'll do it. What you want to say, I'll say it. And I won't add a comma. I won't add a period. I won't put a space where you don't put a space. And oftentimes we need that a break to get whole again, because sometimes when we think we're whole and pouring, there's a break in us and we leak out into the message. We leak out into our content. We leak out into our relationships. And God said, if you would just come to me, I can make you whole so that when you pour, you don't leak out. Anybody else have any questions?
We need a minute to digest that. Jesus. Oh.
All right. Go ahead if you want to add to that.
No, I just wanted to take it in.
Any other questions or comments to that?
I might be all over the place.
It's okay.
You talked about like hearing and kind of like being fearful. So I kind of found myself, it was a point in my life where I felt like I was hearing God consistently, right? And my fear, like it was like, wait a minute, I think that's Him, but I don't think that's Him. Like, this could be Him.
Yes.
So I got in my own way, right? And now I feel like God will, I know He is, right? Because there's certain things I pray about and I ask about in this instant. But those things that I feel like should be, I guess, a grand gesture of who He is and where I want Him to show up. He not, like I don't hear. It's like, where are you? And I feel like I challenge Him because it's like, God, you like, many are called, but few are chosen. Where am I? Where do I stand in your eyes, right? Because I know at one point, I was, like I missed the mark, if that makes sense. I felt like I missed the mark. And it's like, what are you at? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, where are you?
I think a couple things. I think first, I love that you shared at one point I missed the mark. And the first thing I hear is like, you need to release that, right? Like if you missed the mark and you've repented, then let that go. Because oftentimes when we miss the mark, we beat ourselves up and then we project that view onto God and feel like that's how he sees us. And so I think that could be the disruption on why you feel like you can't hear him because you think he's mad at you. And he's like, no, baby, I love you completely. And I think like, I was just talking, like my friends and I talk about this all the time because when we mess up, we feel like God's like, oh my God, why would you do that? How dare you do that? When God's like, that's not even how he's pursuing us to get back to him. He's like, you missed the mark, but please come back. I'm still here. Like, I still love you. He's a father that pursues us and that already knew you was going to do what you did. You know what I'm saying? And he already made a decision about you and your wrongdoings don't change his mind. You know what I'm saying? So I think like that's the first thing is like forgiving yourself for missing the mark and then going, okay, God, now I need your perspective of this thing. And I would say the other thing is like, okay, where you missed the mark, go back to that thing because that's where God is in the last instruction that he gave you. And so we sometimes miss the mark and be like, dang, I missed the mark. Now we mad. Now we like, we can't hear him. And now we going on to the next thing. He like, hey, could you spin the block on the thing that you missed? All right. The grace is not getting you out of this thing. It's giving you the opportunity to get it right this time. Right. So I think that's part of the thing. I think the other thing is that God's goodness is not contingent on him moving according to how you think he would move. Wow. And the way he responds is not even, you know what I'm saying? So you could be saying, God, you ain't saying that. He could be like, I said what I said. Right. When I said it, I'm not saying nothing else until you go do what I said do. Right? So like you doing this over here and he's working on whatever else it is you're concerned about. Because here's the thing, like God is not in the business of things and stuff and getting and he wants relationship. So whatever he got to do to draw you into relationship, meaning I'm not responding about this thing until you get in my face, until you are consistent about how it's the glory of God to conceal a thing and the glory of kings to search it out. So how committed to not getting the thing you want, but to building relationship with the Lord will you be that you'll dive into this. And God, if you never answer what I want you to answer the way you answer it, I'm cool with developing a genuine relationship with you. So the next time I move into something, I won't struggle. I won't miss the mark because I got this solid relationship. And so I think sometimes we can have our mind set and if we honest, we start holding what we gonna do for the Lord because he ain't moved in one area. Wow. So now we like, no, I'm good. I ain't because last time I tried, and you know what I'm saying, we get all, you know what I'm saying, like, hold on, you know what I'm saying? Who we talking to? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because if the Lord started doing that to us, we wouldn't like it. And so I think like being able to say, okay, there's a little bit of pride and entitlement in the way I'm even approaching God. And so I think like being able to reel that in, like scale, like, you know what I'm saying? Pull that back and go like, okay, God, what is it you want me to learn from where I think you're silent? Dang. How, maybe he's trying to teach you how to pursue him in another way. You know what I'm saying? Like it's about building relationship that you learn to trust him so much. You trust the silence. You trust the pause. You trust it's been 6 months. You still ain't gonna show up. Like, you know what I'm saying? What are you saying? And I think like there's balance in that. Cause I mean, an area for me is like, baby girl, is still out here single. And we like, girl, what are we doing, Lord? You know what I'm saying? And that's an area I feel like he's silent in, right? But I don't get to be like, you know, I'm not doing no book tour. I'm not showing up. I'm not writing no book. I'm not doing nothing, Lord, until you send my husband. Yeah. It's like, see how that works out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because now you're trying to manipulate the Lord with a gift he gave you. Ooh. Nah, like, so I think it's perspective. It's learning the Lord's heart and his character and his nature And anytime you go like, oh, I feel like Lord ain't show up, you have breath in your body. He showed up for you today. You know what I'm saying? Like, and being grateful that today I woke up with another opportunity to pursue the Lord for a thing I want. So I think because sometimes we're like, God is not present. You still breathing? He's present. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't deserve that breath. And so I think like, and that seems like really little, but that helps you shape your perspective of God. When you keep going, well, God, you didn't, but what did I do? And while you're waiting on me to do the thing, maybe that I will do, apply who I've been and remember that. And then it helps shift the perspective. Sorry if that was a little tough, because you was teary-eyed and I didn't want to.
That was so good. Anybody else? I want to hear more answers like that. Time. I know
Don't ask me. Okay. This is the first city we got to Q&A.
I know.
That's
because we over time. That's why.
The first city. She has one right here.
So I want to, you call me right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It looks like you're looking behind me.
Yeah.
Oh.
To piggyback off of what you were just saying, just your response, I know that it comes from a place of maturity in Christ, like having to gain the mindset of, sometimes we get disappointed when things don't go our way, but learning how to gain the positives of, I do have breath in my lungs. You have been faithful. You have been good, even if it's not in an area that I'm disappointed in. I can have a rapport with you to look back and see all the things that you have done on my behalf. Mm-hmm. So what are some practical ways or like scriptures that have kind of kept you rooted in your faith? Maybe in the beginning of your journey when you were saying yes, or you thought that he was calling you to a thing, but it ended up not being that. I'm sure it came with natural disappointment. It's like, how did you navigate through that, and what keeps you continuing to say yes?
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't look like the way that you think it should.
For sure. I think that's a great question. I think the first thing I did was start having honest conversations, like telling the Lord I was mad. Because I think that growing up, I didn't know that was okay. I didn't know it was okay to ask the Lord questions about what happened, especially when I felt like I got damaged in a place that God sent me by people he told me to serve. So I think like a lot of it was, I think we sometimes feel like pretending is like in the best interest of the Lord. Like, oh no, I'm good. It didn't bother me. It's like, actually, it's alienating him from being able to show you where he is in it. Mm-hmm. And so I learned very early on to invite God into things. Partially because I feel like my first jarring moment was betrayal from my pastor. And most people were like, well, why didn't you walk away from the Lord? Because I knew without him, I was going to die. Like it just changed everything for me. And so I think in that though, right, I started going, okay, God, what the heck is going on? And I need something I pray all the time is like, I need his eyes for this. Because there's a way I'm seeing it that I'm finna crash out. And then there's a way that he sees it, and I need his perspective of it. I think when it comes to like not getting things I feel like I want, the scripture, and now I don't know where it's at, y'all read your whole Bible, but no good thing would he withhold from me. So I feel like if he's withholding it, it's not good for me. Not that it's not good, but in this season or at the stage I'm at, like if no good thing would he withhold from me, then if he's holding it, it ain't good for me right now. And so like being able to trust that he knows better, and that sucks. It's hard. It's like, I don't understand why I had to walk away from some of the things I had to walk away from. But in hindsight, I do. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm getting the opportunity to experience things that I probably, if I stayed in my career, wouldn't have seen till 10 years from now. But it's like, God just knows better. And I think it comes from building a relationship where you just learn to trust his no. Learn to trust his no. You learn to trust his yes, because he got the whole picture. So I think it's that. I think Romans 8:28 is not just a verse, like for me, like that God he causes all things to work together. Like that, he gave that to me as a promise getting on that plane, moving to LA. Like, I'm going to make this make sense. And it didn't make sense for a long time, okay? I was struggling. I was sleeping on mattresses in my friend's living room. And I'm like, you said you was going to make this make sense. It's not making sense, right? But now, 7 years later, I could see that promise. Like, crazy, really short story, because I know we over time. recently, my mom sent me a text message that she got from like this lady who was at my old church. And my book came out on June 24th. And people kept asking, what's the significance of that date? I'm like, I don't know. The publisher picked it. And so my mom sends me this text, and it's a lady who had wrote me a prophetic word on June 24th, 2018. What happened on that Sunday, like I remember it, for the very first time, I gave a prophetic word to the church I was a part of. And I remember giving a word, like I was a little autistic, like I was stimming. It was a lot of things happening because I had never done nothing like that in my life. And then I come off the platform and the pastor says, go do an altar call. I said, I'm sorry? Who's doing that? I have a video in my phone, the very first time I gave like a prophetic word, then I led an altar call, and she gave me a word that said like healing and deliverance would follow me. It was the same day my book came out 7 years prior. And I was like,
That's crazy.
because I was like, why do people keep asking me the significance of this day? I don't know. And God's like, but I knew. Like, so it's like, in that moment, that same church, I had found out a month ago that my boyfriend was messing with my pastor. I was not working there, but I was still serving there, clearly on the mic, giving the word at the church. And that day, those pastors received deliverance. Wow. And 7 years later, I'm releasing a book so other people can he knows better. Because in that moment, he saw this moment. And so I think the more you say yes and the more you just choose to embrace God, then you go like, I ain't never took a chance on the Lord and he had me out here. Yeah. Scripture, never seen the righteous forsaken. Yeah. Like and it sucks in the moment because I'm like, bro, why would I ever have to go through this? But God's like, because I needed to draw you to me.
Jesus.
And the hurt and the pain, the circumstances are all invitations to do life with the Lord and build a trust that says, I know what I'm looking at. It contradicts your character, but I'm going to find you in it. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Ooh. And when the Lord pulls up on Hagar in that wilderness, she I done had enough of Sarah because I'm going to kill her. I got to get out of here. The Lord meets her right in the middle of that. And then says, I'm not just the God who can be seen. I'm the God who sees. So never feel like, I know this hurts. I know it's causing you a lot, but God sees you. And you got to trust that. Don't allow the circumstances to distort your view of who he is. He's been God. He'll always be God. And he's going to always show up for you, even when it don't feel like it.
I mean, we could do a benediction with that. I just got one thing to say to that. I did a early morning prayer study on Acts 16, and it was about Paul and Silas. Mm-hmm. Man, read that, y'all. Acts 16, from 16, I think, all the way down to 34, something like that. When I read that the first time, I discovered, first of all, they were on their way to prayer, to do the work of the Lord. They just came from doing the work of the Lord. They was on their way to do the work of the Lord. Came in contact with this woman that was in divination. They cast that spirit out. Then they got accused of doing all types of stuff that they didn't do, got beat, got charged, got thrown into the inner prison. While in prison, they had an opportunity to escape, didn't escape. The Lord shook the whole place. And at the end of the whole thing, the prison guard came and fell to his knees and said, What must I do to be saved?
Yeah.
Him and his household got saved. And it looked like the story ended. And I was like, hold on, God. All I see that Paul and Silas got was, some people bandaged their wounds and they got a little meal. Where's their reward? You sent them to do your work. You allowed them to get beat. They got thrown in prison for not doing nothing for doing what you called them to do. Yeah. Where's their reward? Until we expand our definition of good to accommodate God's glory, we will always be frustrated at God's definition of good. So Romans 8:28, I know we make a song, we have the song, all things work together for my good, but it says the good.
The good.
And the hard part of accepting the good is the good equals God's glory, not our comfort, not our ideas, not our perspective. And I think at the end of it, think about I don't know if you heard yourself say it, but what you went through with the whole betrayal that you went through, sit and think about how God rewarded you directly out of that, apart from him using you.
For sure.
So you're telling me that I went through this for who, what? For somebody to fall to their knees and say, what must I do to be saved? And he said, Brenda, I gave you the privilege to share in my sufferings so that they may know me. And we're like, but God, no, like, but what's in it for me?
You talking.
But God, like, there's no way I went through this betrayal just for me to bleed so that they can see your. And Jesus was in that same situation. He said, let this cup pass from me. But yet, that experience on the cross, he did not receive the direct reward on the cross. Instead, his blood shed was for everyone who spat on him. God's glory doesn't look like our comfort.
No.
In fact, it is the antithesis of our comfort. And until we're willing to say, God, it said, the scripture says, it pleased God to crush him. Why? Because in the crushing of his son was his glory. What did his glory look like? It looked like freeing you. And what we hate is we don't want God to get glory at our expense. If it costs me pain and discomfort, if it costs me lack, if it costs me missing an opportunity, if it means I got to be single an extra couple years, I can't afford your glory here. And that's the challenge. God is saying, is my glory worth
enough? Is it enough? No, that's it. What you said is so true, because I do a lot of interviews and I talk about it, and like people they like, what you do? And I'm all like, it was a privilege that God would trust me with that journey. We look at the story of Job and we're like, oh my God, first of all, Job was self-righteous. Second of all, for God to look at you and say, this is my daughter, this is my son, they can handle it. There's a way that God sees you to trust you with circumstances.
God, I'm about to.
If you are not going through anything, it's because God knows you're gonna walk away from him. He knows. He said, not that one. They just need to learn how to say yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, just go to church every week. You know what I'm saying? Cool. The Lord disrupts you and you lose things. He's like, oh, heart. I got that one's heart. So it don't matter what they walk through. They still gonna rock with me. And so I think like it is that is how I see it. It's just the only explanation I can give myself. Was clearly the Lord thought I could handle this. And it's how I met God. It is how I met God. Immediately, I had a compassion and an empathy for people who were trying to kill me, essentially. That's what it felt like. And I showed up the pastor looked me in my face and said, I know God is real because you never changed. I had no idea you knew what you knew based off how you treated me. That's not me, because I know me.
Man.
And me wouldn't have showed up like that. Me would have been like, you gotta be kidding me. Not you playing in my face every day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It was a surrendered version of me.
Wow.
That recognized I needed God, and every day I was in his face to endure the day.
Ooh.
Which meant I was just carrying his grace to show up.
Wow.
So I think that it is being comfortable with saying, like, I'm one of those people be like, bro, I'm gonna have some jewels in my crown.
Listen.
You know what I'm saying? And that feels enough for me.
Yeah.
That I get to live life in a way that when I stand before God, he's gonna be pleased. Yeah. Like that's enough for me. Because the rest of this stuff fades away.
Come on, man.
I would like other things, but I'm cool if I don't get them.
Wow.
I'm cool with being okay with like, it's like, Brenda, what do you want your legacy to be? That girl loved God and she pleased him. You don't gotta add nothing else. That I want to be remembered by that. That girl really loved Jesus, and she lived her life as such, and I'm cool with that.
Buy the book.
Buy the book. Buy the book. Buy the book.
Oh my! Anybody enjoy themselves? Let's touch. Yeah. This was a little revival for me.
Come on.
Any final words? I think you done gave them.
I
But
did.
if you do not have the book, I think everyone has the book by now, right? Everyone, if you